Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Lene Show, So Opinionated. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome and thank you so much. You can find my episode on Spreaker.com. Make sure you subscribe and leave a comment on today's episode or previous episodes I have uploaded. If you are a continued listener, as always, thank you for following me throughout my podcast journey. Let's dive into today's episode, which I titled, It's a New Chapter for Me. I feel like that title can be relatable to anyone, whether you are starting a new job, ending a job, starting a family, expanding your family, moving, relationships, anything in your life that is doing some type of change, obviously can be a new chapter for anyone. For me personally, I am divorced. Yes, guys, I am a divorcee. I don't even know exactly how I feel about that. I feel like I'm, you know, kind of on the fence or in the middle. Part of me understands that this was something that had to happen, right? This was a chapter in my life that needed to be closed. Because my marriage was very toxic, it was abusive, it was super unhealthy, and there was no fixing it. And I can be honest with that. I know that in my head that this had to come to an end. But then the other part of me, whether you want to consider it your heart or whatever, it was comfort, right? Because I knew what I was getting from this relationship. I knew pretty much how the day could turn out, what could be done, what couldn't be done. There was some form of comfort in knowing it is what it is, or it was what it was, right? And that's, I think, the fear that a lot of us have, where we know something isn't good for us, but the comfort of that, of just the knowing. And if you're someone like me, where the unknown is not the best thing, right? We can't predict everything. We're not always going to know the outcome of things, even if it's something you did good or didn't do. We're just never going to know. Every day we have to make a decision, we have to make a choice, and we won't know the outcomes of these choices, of these decisions, until they're done. That's just life. But someone like me, where I am a planner, I do my best, and I feel like I am a very responsible person, whether it comes to my finances, comes to my work, comes to my kids. I consider myself a responsible person. I do my best to do things so that I kind of know the outcome. Once again, I'm not always going to know the outcome. I've made mistakes. There's no such a thing as a perfect person. We're not always going to do the right thing in the sense of, really contemplating the decision. But overall, I am a responsible person. So I kind of like to plan things out. I kind of try to look at the next day. Okay, I have to do this, and this. That's the type of person I am. So when you have that in the relationship, you already know what's going to happen, what's going to do this. And so the fear of not knowing where your next step is going to be if you get the divorce. When we get divorced, it's finances, if there are kids involved, if you're moving, all of these things play a role it's super nerve-wracking to not know what's going to happen. So that's why I'm saying I'm on the fence, because I knew that this was the right step, but it took me so long to get to that step. And unfortunately, I don't know why I keep needing to learn these lessons. I feel like God's probably like, girl, if you don't start listening to me the first time, because I do tend to be someone who, all right, here you go. I'm trying to show you. It's the universe. Like, okay, girl, here, this is probably gonna be the outcome. Here, I'm giving you a little hint, and you know how the universe keep hinting at you, and you like, please, okay, I got it. I'm gonna figure it out. Well, maybe if I do it this way, but it keeps coming back to this, and then sometimes I feel like it's whether you believe in God, whatever your spiritual, religious, whatever your beliefs are. I feel like it's like, okay, I tried to give you a few hints. I tried to let you know that this is not the path. So now, there you go. Here's something for you, okay? Because you didn't want to listen to me the first 5,000 times. And unfortunately, I can be that person. I'll be honest, guys. I can be that person where the universe definitely tries to help me out. Try to let me know what's going on. And I'm like, ugh. I don't know if you guys, I don't know her name. There's this young lady on TikTok. She's part of the Christian TikTok, and she's always coming up on my feed, and she's always saying, she asks God a question, and then God's like, nah, the answer is no. And you're like, well, and he's like, no, I need you to hear me. The answer is no. And you're like, well, you know what? Let me just make sure you know what you're talking about. I'm gonna try it. And then she comes back and you go back and God's looking at you and you like, I'm really sorry, Lord. I should have listened to you. That's me, guys. I'm that girl. So, I feel like by me saying this is a new chapter is because since my separation, I feel like a lot of things have happened. And I think the reason these things kept happening is because I was still in such fear to make it final. Like separated is not divorced, right? So for in the beginning when I was separated, I felt like I was afraid of the final step, because once again, I didn't know what was going to happen. There are a lot of factors that come with a marriage. It's not just the fact that you're losing a partner, you're losing a companion, and that, the love, all of that stuff, but then everything else, like you go from a 2-income household to a 1-income household. Now you're a single parent. I have 2 children from a previous relationship, so my kids were stepchildren, but I was single. I was a single mom by single mom, I mean an actual single mom for the first 10 years of having my kids. And then the last 10 years, okay, I was married, but I still felt like a single mother because I was still doing all of the work. I working full time, taking care of the kids, doctor's appointments, sports, work, cooking, cleaning. To be honest, I didn't feel like I was in a partnership majority of the marriage anyway. I'm gonna just be honest. The most I probably got out of my marriage was at least having 2 incomes in the household. I will say that my ex was very responsible with money. Bills were always paid. Neither one of us had to worry about that part, about the money. But as far as the relationship part and taking, being 50-50, not even 50-50, being freaking, 60-40, whatever. Just having a partner, someone to cook, someone to clean, someone to help out, someone to take the load. That part I was always single in. But so I've pretty much been a single mom since I became a parent. But like I said, for the first 10 was actual single, and then the last 10 I was married, not married for the full 10, but in a relationship that turned into a marriage. So these are the things that you're going to lose out on, that, like I said, the 2 incomes, the having someone else there, things like that. And all of those things play a role when you are considering divorce. And it's super scary. I mean, anyone who has been through this, and obviously the statistics are high on those of us who are a part of this club, you understand that. And then on top of that, the emotional part, right? Because like I said, you know what you're getting. There were a lot of things that I was getting out of that relationship that I won't be having for a really long time, right? Like having someone to talk to about your day, having someone to watch the crime shows with, things like that. These are parts of a relationship that make a relationship, and it doesn't even have to be marriage. It's just, this is what comes along when you are in a partnership. And so those are things that you lose out on and things that you worry about. But I feel like, back to what I was saying about being separated, I feel like the things that were happening while I was separated were happening, in my opinion, and this is just how I feel. I feel like that chapter had to be closed, and I kept holding on to it out of fear and just the unknown, and also just, not fully saying to myself, like, this is really it. You know what I'm saying? Like, separated is fine, but in your head, you're still legally married, and it's like, okay, but it's like, the divorce makes it final. That piece of paper that everyone talks about, the same way the piece of paper makes it legally married, that piece of paper makes it, you're like not married anymore, you're divorced. So I think for a long time I didn't believe that was going to happen, right? I didn't think that was really going to be the outcome, because it took so long for me to even get to that point to start the process. It took so long for me to wrap my head around, this chapter has to close, Lene. Like, you have to realize that this is what's best for you. This is what's best for your mental health. This is what's best. And until this chapter is closed, there will be no forward movement in your life. No, every good thing that keeps coming in is not going to stay. There's going to be a wall. There's going to be a door. I am going to make sure, and by I mean God, the universe, Mother Nature, whatever you want to call it, is going to make sure until you close this chapter, there's no healthy future. And so that's why I feel like it's new. I feel like it's a weight lifted off of my shoulder, because I knew that this had to happen. I knew that I wanted it to happen, but I just didn't know how to get that ball going where that was it. It's over. You're divorced. Move on. And even with therapy, if you listen to my previous episodes, you know that I'm pro therapy. I have pretty much gone to therapy my whole life. As a child, I went due to, things that had nothing to do with me, between my mom and my grandmother, and just unfortunate childhood stuff that required me to have to deal with basically childhood trauma. And then as an adult, I was going to therapy because I was in an abusive relationship, which was physically abusive for years. And then I'm back in therapy now because of me separating and then getting a divorce, and then that relationship also being verbally abusive for majority of the relationship, and dealing with being the wife of an alcoholic, someone who suffers from PTSD and depression, and then just getting back to a healthy space. And if you listen to the episode I did before this, episode 22, where I talk about what I want for 2022. I mentioned, I want to get back to a healthy place where I feel loved, where I feel like I could be myself, where I'm not walking on eggshells, where I'm not questioning me, right? And so that's a part of the new chapter. But now this official chapter of being divorced and being able to let go of that part of my life. And there's I don't want to say regrets, but there are lessons learned, right? So just on my part, I'm going to talk about what I learned about myself. So first of all, I learned that and I want to make sure I'm really clear on this, because anyone who has been through abuse, whether you've been abused as a child, as an adult, regardless of what the abuse is. I saw a post on Twitter a while ago from a woman named Dr. Bouquet or Bouquet. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing her name. If any of you guys know, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. But she tweeted, "Trauma changes you. It literally alters your DNA. It damages your mental health, takes a toll on the quality of living, and this is why we heal. This is why we detach and go into solitude." And I actually reposted it on my Instagram, which is Lene_NYC, for those of you who want to see it. That post really meant something to me, right? Because I think it's hard for people who have not been through trauma, or those who don't acknowledge their trauma, because they're out there who just have not come to come to the fact that, you know, you have a lot of trauma, you're not dealing with it, you're not healthy, you're toxic yourself because you haven't accepted the fact that you have been through trauma and you need help processing that, right? But I feel like those of us who acknowledge